say those bad words about my mom again, and I will make sure my dad deals with you, Uncle.
The little boy's voice was small, but it cut through the air like a sharp knife. Inside the fancy dining room of the Lee family mansion in Malibu, everyone froze. Forks stopped halfway to mouths. Wine glasses were set down slowly. All heads turned to look at the doorway. Standing there was a 6-year-old boy with dark, angry eyes. Joon-ho Lee, the man the boy was talking to, looked pale. His mother, Madam Lee, gasped. His sister, Min-ji, put her hand over her mouth in shock. They were scared because the little boy standing in the light looked exactly like them. He had the same sharp jawline. He had the same dark eyes. He stood tall and proud, just like a Lee. But that was impossible. Joon-ho didn't have any children. He had made sure of that years ago when he was married to that woman. Who? Min-ji asked, her voice shaking. Who are you? The boy didn't answer her. He just stared at Joon-ho with cold eyes that looked too old for a child. My mother went outside to take a phone call because she is polite, but I heard you through the window. I heard every mean word you said about her, the boy said. Kai, baby, I told you to stay in the dining room. A worried woman's voice came from behind the boy. And then she stepped into the light. It was Amara. She was Joon-ho's ex-wife. She was the woman he had divorced 8 years ago. The woman his family had called a thief and a gold digger. They had thrown her out like garbage. But Amara didn't look like garbage now. She looked like a queen. She was wearing a simple black dress, but anyone could tell it cost more than all the clothes Min-ji was wearing. She wore beautiful jewelry, and she walked with her head held high. Amara, Joon-ho whispered. He felt sick to his stomach. He called you a leech, Mom, the little boy Kai said without looking away from Joon-ho. He said you were trying to crawl back to the family for money. He said you were desperate. The room was silent. It felt like the air had turned into ice. Everyone stared at this impossible child and the woman they thought was gone forever. Is this true? A cracked, old voice asked from the corner. It was Grandfather Lee, the head of the family. He was 92 years old and sat in a wheelchair. Did you insult this woman in my home, Joon-ho? After I invited her? You invited her? Madam Lee shrieked. Father, why would you invite her back? She tried to ruin our family. She stole from us. Stole? Amara said softly. You mean the necklace that magically appeared in Min-ji's jewelry box 6 months after you kicked me out? You planted it there. Min-ji screamed. I was in Chicago, Amara said calmly. I was working. I had no interest in your necklace then, and I have 0 interest in it now. Joon-ho slammed his glass down on the table. His mind was racing. Why did you bring that boy? Who is his father? Because he is clearly not mine. No one said he was yours, Amara said. Her voice was cool and dangerous. Trust me, Joon-ho, you are the last person I would ever want to be the father of my child. Madam Lee stepped closer to the boy. She looked at his face with horror. But he looks exactly like our family. He looks like a Lee. That is because I am a Lee, the little boy said. My name is Kai Lee, and that is my great-grandfather. He pointed at the old man in the wheelchair. Subscribe to the channel and comment down below where you are watching from. This is the most important aspect of this story, and trust me, you won't believe what happens next. To understand how Amara ended up standing in that dining room with a secret son, looking like a millionaire, we have to go back. We have to go back 8 years to when she was just a heartbroken girl signing papers with shaking hands. Back then, Amara had signed the divorce papers with tears in her eyes. Her lawyer had tried to get her more money, but Amara just wanted to escape. She wanted to get away from the Lee family and go back to her mom. Her marriage to Joon-ho had only lasted 18 months, but it felt like 100 years of torture. When they met at college in America, Joon-ho had been like a prince. He was charming and kind. He made her believe that love was strong enough to break any barrier. But the truth came out 3 days after their wedding when they moved to Korea. You married a black woman? Madam Lee had said, right in front of Amara. Have you lost your mind? What will our business partners think? From that day on, Amara's life became a nightmare. The Lee family made sure she suffered every single day. First, they accused her of small things, like stealing money from a purse or breaking a vase she never touched. Then the lies got bigger. They said she was sleeping with the staff. They said she was stealing business secrets. And the worst part, Joon-ho, her husband, the man who promised to protect her, did nothing. You are making my life difficult, Joon-ho had told her one night, his eyes cold. My family is important. You need to try harder to fit in. I haven't done anything wrong, Amara had whispered. Then why does everyone have a problem with you? He asked, turning his back on her. That was the moment Amara realized he never truly loved her. He just used her to rebel against his parents. And now that it was hard, he was erasing her. The divorce was fast and cruel. They gave her $50,000 to walk away. They made her sign a paper that said she could never talk about the Lee family again. Amara took the money and ran back to California, broken and sad. She moved back into her childhood bedroom at her mom's house. She got a job as an assistant at an art gallery. She was 24 years old and trying to learn how to be a person again. Then she met him. It was at an art show. A man was standing in front of a painting. When he turned to look at her, Amara almost stopped breathing. He looked just like Joon-ho. He had the same sharp face, the same Lee family look, but his eyes were different. Joon-ho's eyes were cold and mean. This man's eyes were fierce and alive. You are staring, the man said with a smile. Sorry, Amara stammered. You just look familiar. I have that kind of face, he said. I'm Tae-sung. And you are? Amara. Wilson, she said quickly. She didn't use her married name. Not Lee anymore? Tae-sung asked. Amara froze. Her heart started beating fast. How did he know? She had been so careful. I don't know what you are talking about, she said, ready to run away. Peace, Amara, he said, holding up his hands. I am not here to cause trouble. I just noticed things. You look like someone who survived my family. But you can't tell anyone because you signed an NDA, right? Amara stared at him. Who are you? I am Tae-sung Lee, he said. The oldest son. The one they pretend doesn't exist. The one who walked away before they could destroy him. You are Joon-ho's brother, Amara whispered. Unfortunately, yes, Tae-sung said. Let me guess what happened. Joon-ho treated you like a princess, married you, and then let his family torture you while he watched. Then he divorced you and paid you off with a little bit of money. Am I right? Amara felt tears in her eyes. It was exactly what happened. I am sorry, Tae-sung said gently. My brother has a pattern. He finds a woman who scares the family, pretends to love her, and then lets them break her. I left 15 years ago because I refused to be like them. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a card. Park Tae-sung, CEO, TS Holdings International. If you ever need anything, he said. A job, a lawyer, anything. Call me. No strings attached. Just one survivor helping another. Amara took the card. I don't need charity, she said. It is not charity, Tae-sung smiled. It is rebellion. Every person my family hurts who goes on to succeed is a victory against them. So thrive, Amara. Be so happy that they choke on their regret. Amara didn't call him for 3 months. But then tragedy struck. Her mother was diagnosed with breast cancer. The medical bills were huge. Amara couldn't pay them with her small salary at the gallery. She was drowning in debt. She was terrified. So, she looked at the card. She dialed the number. Amara, Tae-sung answered on the first ring. His voice was warm. What do you need? She told him everything. She cried on the phone. I will handle it, he said. I can't let you. I am choosing to help, he interrupted. But Amara, I want something in return. Amara's heart sank. There was always a price. Have dinner with me, he said. Just dinner. Let me take you somewhere nice. That is all. Unless you want to negotiate for more. That dinner changed everything. Tae-sung was funny and smart. He listened to her. He paid for her mother's treatment without blinking. He helped Amara get a better job. He treated her like she was precious, not broken. 6 months later, they were in love. I am damaged, she told him one night. Your family broke something in me. Then we will build trust slowly, Tae-sung said. Brick by brick. I will prove that not all Lee men are poison. They got married quietly in Santa Barbara. No Lee family. No drama. Just love. 3 months after the wedding, Amara found out she was pregnant. She was scared because pregnancy with Joon-ho had been a weapon used against her. But Tae-sung held her and promised their child would be loved. When Kai was born, he had his father's eyes and the Lee family face. He looks like them, Amara whispered in the hospital. He looks like us, Tae-sung corrected her. And our family is nothing like theirs. For 6 years, they lived a happy, secret life in Beverly Hills. Tae-sung built his own company into a billion-dollar empire, far bigger than his father's. They were happy, until the letter arrived. It was an invitation from grandfather Lee. He was dying. He wanted one last family dinner. He wanted to see his oldest grandson, Tae-sung, and meet his wife and child. "We shouldn't go," Amara said, reading the invitation. "They will destroy us." "They can't destroy us anymore," Tae-sung said, holding her hand. "We have the power now. And maybe it is time they see what they threw away." So they went. They drove to the mansion in Malibu. Amara's hands were shaking as they walked up the steps. Tae-sung squeezed her hand. "Remember," he whispered, "you are not the victim anymore. You are my wife. You are the mother of the heir." Amara took a deep breath. She fixed her expensive dress. But when they got inside, the maid told Amara that Tae-sung had to speak to his father in the study first. Amara and little Kai were told to wait in the dining room. But Amara needed to take a call, so she stepped out to the patio for just a minute. She left Kai in the dining room, thinking he would be safe. She was wrong. Through the window, she heard Joon-ho's voice. She heard him talking to the family. He didn't know Kai was listening. He didn't know Kai belonged to his brother. "That woman was a curse," Joon-ho was saying, laughing with a glass of wine. "I bet she is living in a gutter somewhere. She was always begging for money. A total leech." Amara froze outside the window. The anger boiled inside her. But before she could move, she heard a small, brave voice speak up inside the room. "Say such words about my mom again." Amara turned around. She hung up the phone. She signaled to the maid to open the doors. It was time to make an entrance. Now we are back in the present. The dining room is silent. Joon-ho is sweating. Madam Lee is staring at Kai. "He is a Lee," Kai repeated. "And my dad is going to be very mad that you were mean to us." "Your dad?" Joon-ho laughed nervously. "Kid, who is your dad?" "The driver." Suddenly, the heavy double doors at the other end of the room swung open. The temperature in the room seemed to drop 10 degrees. A man stepped in. He was tall, broader than Joon-ho, and wearing a suit that cost more than Joon-ho's car. He had the same face as Joon-ho, but stronger. "Dangerous." "Careful, brother," the man said. His voice was low and deadly. Joon-ho dropped his wine glass. It shattered on the floor. "Tae-sung." Joon-ho gasped. "What are you doing here?" Tae-sung didn't look at his brother. He walked straight to Amara and put his arm around her waist. He pulled her close. Then he picked up Kai with his other arm. "I was invited," Tae-sung said, looking at the shocked family. "And I see you have already met my wife and my son." "Your wife?" Madam Lee screeched. "You married her?" Tae-sung smiled, but it was a terrifying smile. "Yes," he said. "And if anyone insults her again, I will destroy this entire family." The silence in the dining room was heavy and suffocating. It felt like the air had been sucked out of the room. "You married her?" Madam Lee screamed again, her voice shaking with disgust. She pointed a finger at Amara, her hand trembling. "You married your brother's leftovers? That is sick. It is practically incest." Tae-sung didn't flinch. He didn't look embarrassed. He looked powerful. He held Amara tighter against his side. "It is actually perfectly legal," Tae-sung said calmly, though his eyes were burning with rage. "We have been married for over 6 years. Kai was born 7 months after our wedding. We live in Beverly Hills, I run a multi-billion-dollar company, and we are very, very happy." 6 years. Joon-ho's face went white. He looked like he had seen a ghost. "You have been married for 6 years and never told us? Never told the family?" Tae-sung laughed. It was a cold, sharp sound. "Why would I?" he asked. "You all made it clear 15 years ago that I wasn't family anymore. I took you at your word. Everything I have built, my money, my company, my beautiful wife, and my perfect son, I did without you." He looked at Madam Lee with eyes as hard as diamonds. "Why would I share my happiness with the people who cut me out of their lives? Father invited you here to reconcile." Madam Lee turned to Grandfather Lee, who was watching everything from his wheelchair. "Father, did you know? Did you know he married that woman?" Grandfather Lee's ancient voice cut through the shouting. "I invited him because I am 92 years old," he said. "I am tired of watching this family destroy itself with hate. I wanted to see my great-grandson before I die." "You knew," Madam Lee whispered, realizing the truth. "You knew he married Amara, and you said nothing." "That woman has a name," Tae-sung growled. His voice dropped low, sounding like a growling tiger. "Her name is Amara Lee. She is my wife. She is the mother of my child. And the next person who disrespects her will regret it." Joon-ho stepped forward. The wine he had been drinking gave him false courage. He was shaking, but he tried to look tough. "Or what?" Joon-ho sneered. "You will what, Tae-sung?" You are not part of this family anymore. You have no power here. You walked away, remember? You chose your pride over your family. Taesung smiled. It was the kind of smile a shark gives before it bites. I chose my humanity over becoming a monster, Taesung corrected him. And as for power, he looked Joon-ho up and down like he was looking at a bug. Should we discuss Lee Industries' recent financial problems? The money that has gone missing? The fact that 3 of your biggest investors are about to quit? Joon-ho's face turned the color of ash. The arrogant smile fell off his face. You are behind the investigation. I am behind a lot of things, Taesung said smoothly. It turns out, when you build a real business instead of relying on daddy's money and dirty deals, you get real power. I have power, Joon-ho. I just don't waste it on people who aren't worth my time. The room was deadly silent. Minji looked terrified. Madam Lee looked sick. Taesung bent down and set Kai on the floor gently. But let's not get distracted, he said, adjusting his expensive suit jacket. We are here because grandfather invited us to a family dinner. So let's have dinner. Unless anyone else wants to insult my wife first, get it out of your system now. She poisoned you against us, Madam Lee hissed. She couldn't help herself. First she ruined Joon-ho's marriage. Now she has ruined your relationship with us. Amara laughed. It was a bitter, angry sound. I ruined Joon-ho's marriage? Amara asked. Is that the story you tell yourselves? Not that your son tricked me, married me knowing you would hate me, and then stood by while you called me a thief. You were a problem. Joon-ho shouted. You never fit in. You expected us to change for you. I learned Korean. Amara shouted back. All the anger from 8 years ago came rushing out like a volcano. I studied your culture. I wore the clothes your mother picked out. I apologized for existing. I tried, Joon-ho. God knows I tried. But nothing was ever enough because you never wanted me to succeed. Joon-ho's face turned red. I gave you everything. A home, money, status. You gave me hell wrapped in luxury. Amara said softly. The pain in her voice made even Minji flinch. You let your mother call me names. You let your sister hide her necklace in my room and frame me. You let them treat me like garbage because defending me would have required courage you don't have. Enough, Grandfather Lee shouted. He banged his cane on the floor. Crack. Joon-ho, sit down. Madam Lee, Minji, be quiet. We're going to have dinner like civilized people. Taesung, bring your family to the table. Taesung didn't move. He looked down at Amara. His arm was tight around her waist. He was letting her decide. She was the one they had hurt. Why should we stay? Taesung asked. Why should I let my wife and son sit with people who are mean to them? Because I am asking you to, Grandfather Lee said, his voice soft now. Because I am dying, Taesung. And I want one meal with my great-grandson. I have made mistakes. I am trying to fix them before I run out of time. Amara looked at the old man. He looked weak. He wasn't like the others. He had never been cruel to her, just distant. She looked at her son, Kai. Kai was watching her with big, worried eyes. One dinner, Amara said finally. Her voice was strong. But the first person who insults me or my son, we leave. No arguments. We just go. Agreed, Grandfather Lee said instantly. He glared at his family. Everyone will be respectful. They moved to the big dining table. It was long enough for 20 people, but only 10 sat down. The tension was so thick you could cut it with a knife. Taesung sat strategically. He put Amara on his right and Kai on his left. He sat like a wall between his family and the people who hated them. Servants brought out the first course, soup. The only sound was the clinking of silver spoons against china bowls. Clink, clink, clink. So, Grandfather Lee said, trying to break the icy silence. Kai, your grandfather tells me you are very smart. What grade are you in? First grade, great-grandfather, Kai answered politely. His English was perfect, and he even bowed his head slightly, showing perfect manners. I go to West Side Academy. I like math and taekwondo, Kai added. Taekwondo? The old man's eyes lit up. Your father was excellent at taekwondo when he was young. Before. He stopped. He didn't finish the sentence. Everyone knew what he meant. Before Taesung left the family. Dad teaches me, Kai said proudly. He says I need to be strong to protect the people I love. He says that is what men in our family should do. Protect instead of hurt. The words hit Joon-ho like a slap in the face. Joon-ho clenched his jaw. Is that what you are teaching him? Joon-ho snapped. To disrespect his elders? I am teaching him to know the difference between elders who deserve respect and people who use their age to be cruel, Taesung said calmly. It is an important lesson. Madam Lee couldn't stay quiet. She hated seeing Taesung so confident. You have always been self-righteous, she sneered. Even as a child, you thought you were better than everyone else. Too good for the family business. And look where it got you. Married to your brother's leftovers. Taesung gripped his fork so hard his knuckles turned white. He was about to explode. But Kai spoke first. My mom isn't leftovers. Kai shouted. His little face looked fierce, just like his father's. She is the best person in the world. She takes care of sick people. She volunteers. And she makes me laugh every day. Uncle Joon-ho threw her away because he was too weak to stand up to you. That makes him stupid, not worthless. Kai, Amara whispered, touching his hand. We talked about this. But they keep saying mean things. Kai said, tears filling his eyes. Dad said we don't let people disrespect you. Your dad is right, Taesung said softly. But sometimes we choose our battles. The child is spirit, Grandfather Lee said. He actually looked impressed. Lee blood runs true in him. Minji laughed. It was a cruel, high-pitched sound. Lee blood. Minji scoffed. She looked at Kai with pure disdain. He is half-black. He isn't really a Lee, no matter what last name you gave him. The room went dead still. Amara froze. She felt the old shame trying to creep back in. But then she felt Taesung's hand on her back. He is more Lee than you will ever be, Taesung said. His voice was like ice. Because he understands loyalty. He understands integrity. Things you have clearly never understood. How dare you? Minji gasped. No, Taesung slammed his fork down. Clang. How dare you? Taesung stood up. He loomed over the table. You sit here in your mansion built on dirty money and broken people. And you judge my wife for the color of her skin? You judge my son for being mixed race. He pointed a finger at each of them. You are the same people who accused Amara of theft when you knew exactly where that necklace was. You are the same people who made her life so miserable she had anxiety attacks. You are the same people who paid her $50,000 to disappear and never speak about the abuse. It wasn't abuse. Joon-ho protested weakly. She was just sensitive. She took everything too personally. I found her in the bathroom throwing up from stress. Taesung shouted. When we first started dating, she had nightmares about this family. She flinched when I laughed because she expected cruelty. That isn't being sensitive, Joon-ho. That is trauma. Every word was like a hammer hitting a nail. Amara felt tears running down her face. It hurt to hear it, but it felt good too. Finally, someone was saying the truth out loud. She seduced you, Madam Lee insisted, but her voice was weak. She trapped you just like she tried to trap Joon-ho. Nobody trapped anybody. Amara stood up. Her legs were shaking, but she stood tall. Joon-ho chased me at college. He made me believe love was possible. I was naive. I loved him. I tried everything to earn your acceptance. But nothing was enough because you decided to hate me before you even met me. You are right, Grandfather Lee said quietly. Everyone turned to look at the old man. Madam Lee, Grandfather said. You were determined to hate her. You complained to me before Joon-ho even brought her to Korea. You said she was ruining the bloodline. You said she was embarrassing the family. Father, Madam Lee blushed. You agreed with me. You said Joon-ho made a mistake. I said a lot of things I regret, Grandfather Lee said, looking very tired. I let my pride poison my judgment. I let you torture that girl because I was too much of a coward to change tradition. And I lost my grandson because of it. He looked at Taesung with sad eyes. I lost you, Taesung, because I asked you to become something you weren't. Because I valued money over humanity. I am sorry. I am sorry I wasn't strong enough to support you when you needed me. The apology hung in the air. Ali never apologized. Especially not the patriarch. Taesung stared at his grandfather. He looked conflicted. Why now? Taesung asked roughly. Why apologize now after 15 years? Because I am dying, Grandfather said bluntly. Pancreatic cancer. Stage 4. The doctors give me 3 months. Maybe 4-inch. Amara gasped. Joon-ho looked down at his plate. I realized I am going to die surrounded by people who value money over love, Grandfather continued. I don't want that legacy. I don't want to die knowing I drove away the best of us and kept the worst. It is too late, Taesung said. But his voice wasn't angry anymore. It was just sad. You can't undo 15 years of exile. You can't erase what this family did to Amara. An apology doesn't fix that. I know, grandfather nodded. But maybe it is a start. This is ridiculous. Joon-ho slammed his hands on the table. He stood up, knocking his chair back. You are apologizing to him? He abandoned the family. He walked away. And now he shows up with my ex-wife and some kid and expects us to celebrate. I expect nothing, Taesung said coldly. I came here because grandfather asked me to. But I don't expect anything from you, Joon-ho. You have proven exactly who you are. Again and again. And who am I? Joon-ho yelled. He was sweating now. He looked wild. Tell me, who am I? You are a coward, Taesung said. You destroy people weaker than you to feel powerful. You had something beautiful with Amara, and you threw it away because you have no backbone. You are my brother, and I don't hate you, but I don't respect you. You don't respect me? Joon-ho laughed. It sounded crazy. You married my ex-wife. You had a child with her. And you talk about respect. I married a woman I fell in love with, Taesung corrected him. A woman you discarded. She was free. I didn't steal her. I recognized her value when you treated her like trash. She was mine first, Joon-ho shouted. I was never yours, Amara said. She stood next to Taesung. I was a person. I made a mistake marrying you. But I stopped being yours the day you signed those papers. I rebuilt my life. I found someone who actually loves me. And I am not going to apologize for being happy. Happy? Minji sneered. You think you are happy? Wait until Taesung gets tired of you too. Wait until he realizes you are beneath him. I will never get tired of her, Taesung said. His voice was full of love. Because I actually see her. I see her strength. I see her resilience. I see a woman who survived abuse and came out stronger. Amara felt her heart swell. She had never felt so protected. This is disgusting, Madam Lee shook her head. You betray your brother. You betray the family. And you act like a hero. I saved myself from becoming like you, Taesung said. If that is betrayal, I am proud of it. Joon-ho looked like he was about to attack Taesung. His fists were clenched. You think you are better than us? Joon-ho hissed. Just because you made your own money? You think you are so perfect. I think I am honest, Taesung said. Suddenly, the dining room doors burst open again. A woman rushed in. She looked messy, like she had been running. Her expensive clothes were wrinkled. She was clutching a leather folder to her chest. I came as soon as I got your message, she gasped. It was Aunt Ji-hai. She was the middle child, the one who kept the family books. She looked at the room full of angry people and stopped. Oh, she said nervously. I didn't realize everyone would be here. Aunt Ji-hai? Taesung asked, surprised. What are you doing here? Father called me, Ji-hai said, looking at grandfather Lee. He said it was urgent. He said he needed me to bring the documents. Bring what? Madam Lee demanded. Father, what is this about? The room went silent again. Grandfather Lee sat up straighter in his wheelchair. He looked stronger suddenly. The truth, grandfather said. Ji-hai, give them the documents. Father, are you sure? Ji-hai asked, her hands shaking. Once this comes out, there is no taking it back. I am dying, grandfather said. I don't have time to take things back. Give them the documents. Ji-hai opened the leather folder. She pulled out a stack of papers and photographs. She spread them across the dining table, right over the white tablecloth. What is this? Joon-ho asked. He reached out and picked up a photograph. His face lost all color. He looked like he was going to vomit. This is me, Joon-ho whispered. That is you meeting with Lee Industries' competitors, grandfather said. His voice was like a judge handing down a sentence. Selling company secrets. Stealing money through fake companies. The exact same crimes you accused Amara of committing. You have been doing them yourself for 5 years. The dining room exploded into chaos. That's not possible. Madam Lee shrieked. She grabbed the stack of documents from the table, her hands shaking so hard the papers rattled. Joon-ho would never do this. He is a Lee. He is the CEO. Joon-ho has been stealing from the family business for 5 years, Aunt Ji-hai said. Her voice was tired but firm. She didn't look at her nephew. She looked at her father, grandfather Lee. I have been the company's auditor for the past 3 years, Ji-hai explained. Father asked me to investigate some strange numbers in the accounts. I thought it was just a mistake at first. But what I found was not a mistake. It was theft. It was fraud. And it was corporate spying. Minji jumped up to defend her brother. You are lying, she screamed at Ji-hai. You are making this up to help Tae-sung. You always liked him better. I wish I was lying, Ji-hai said sadly. She pointed to the papers. The evidence is all there. Bank transfers, emails, recorded phone calls. Joon-ho has stolen approximately $30 million from Lee Industries over 5 years. He has also been selling secret information to our competitors for extra cash. Amara felt like the floor had dropped out from under her feet. $30 million. She looked at Joon-ho. He was sitting in his chair, looking small and weak. This was the man who had destroyed her life over a necklace? 30 million. Amara whispered. But he accused me of stealing a $20,000 necklace. He let your family call me a thief. He destroyed my reputation over something so small, while he was stealing millions. Tae-sung's face was dark with fury. He looked at his brother with pure disgust. It is called projection, Tae-sung said. His voice was tight. He accused you of his own crimes to make sure no one suspected him. It is classic narcissist behavior. If he points the finger at you, no one looks at him. I had to. Joon-ho's voice cracked. He sounded desperate, like a trapped animal. You don't understand the pressure. Father always compared me to Tae-sung. He always said I wasn't good enough. I had to prove I could be successful, too. By stealing from your own family? Grandfather Lee's voice was like a whip cracking in the air. By destroying an innocent woman's reputation to cover your tracks? By letting your mother and sister torture your wife so no one would look too closely at your own bank accounts. Joon-ho looked down at his hands. I never meant for it to go that far, he mumbled. The thing with Amara, it just spiraled out of control. It spiraled. Amara's voice rose. Years of anger finally erupted. She wasn't scared anymore. You let them call me a thief. You let them accuse me of trying to trap you with a baby. You stood by while your mother told me I was polluting the bloodline. And you say it spiraled. I am sorry, Joon-ho said, but the words sounded empty. I never wanted to hurt you, Amara. I panicked. When the auditors started asking questions about the missing money, I needed a scapegoat. You were convenient. The word hung in the air. Convenient. Amara felt like she had been punched in the stomach. You used me, she whispered. Tears of rage filled her eyes. You married me. You let your family abuse me. You destroyed my name. Also, you could cover up your own crimes. I wasn't even a person to you. I was just a convenient distraction. It wasn't like that, Joon-ho started. Yes, it was. Amara slammed her hands on the table. The dishes rattled. Own it, Joon-ho. For once in your pathetic life, own what you did. She leaned over the table, staring right into his cowardly eyes. You married me knowing your family would hate me. You let them torture me for 18 months. You divorced me and paid me off with $50,000, a tiny fraction of what you had stolen. And you made me sign an NDA, so I could never tell anyone what you put me through. And all of it, every single moment of my suffering, was so you could keep stealing from your family. The room was silent. Even Madame Lee couldn't speak. There is more, Aunt Ji-hai said quietly. She pulled out another document from her folder. The necklace that went missing. The one Amara was accused of stealing. Everyone looked at Ji-hai. Joon-ho sold it, Ji-hai said. He took it from his mother's collection. He sold it to a private collector for $40,000. Then, he claimed Amara stole it, so that no one would realize he had sold it. What? Madame Lee's face went white. She looked at her son. Joon-ho, tell me she is lying. Tell me you didn't steal my necklace. I needed the money. Joon-ho shouted. The investments weren't paying off fast enough. I had debts. I had obligations. So you stole my mother's necklace and blamed it on my wife, Tae-sung said. His voice was so cold, so deadly, that everyone in the room took a step back. You destroyed Amara's reputation, Tae-sung continued, stepping closer to his brother. You destroyed her mental health. You destroyed her sense of safety. All over a necklace you stole and sold. It was just supposed to buy me time. Joon-ho cried. It was just supposed to give me space to fix things before anyone realized what was happening. I never meant. You never mean anything. Tae-sung cut him off. You never mean to hurt people. You never mean for things to go wrong. You never mean to take responsibility. You are a parasite, Joon-ho. You feed off other people's suffering and call it survival. That is enough, Madame Lee said. But she didn't sound angry anymore. She sounded broken. She stared at her golden boy son like she was seeing a monster for the first time. Joon-ho, tell me this isn't true. Tell me you didn't do these things. Joon-ho looked around the room. He saw no sympathy. He saw no support. He only saw judgment. I did what I had to do to survive in this family. Joon-ho yelled. You all wanted me to be like Tae-sung. Perfect and principled. But I am not him. I never was. So yes, I took shortcuts. Yes, I made mistakes. Nobody asked you to steal, Grandfather Lee said, his voice heavy with disappointment. Nobody asked you to destroy an innocent woman. Those were your choices, Joon-ho. Own them. Fine. Joon-ho screamed. His composure shattered completely. He looked crazy. Fine. I own it. I stole from the company. I sold the necklace. I let Amara take the blame because it was easier than admitting what I had done. I am a fraud and a thief and a coward. Is that what you want to hear? Are you happy now? No, Amara said quietly. She stood tall, looking down at her ex-husband. I am not happy, she said. I am devastated that I wasted 18 months of my life loving someone who saw me as nothing more than a convenient scapegoat. I am heartbroken that I believed in a marriage that was built on lies. She took a deep breath. But I am also relieved, Amara said. Relieved? Joon-ho laughed bitterly. Relieved that I am exposed. Relieved that I know the truth, Amara corrected him. For 3 years, I blamed myself. I thought maybe if I had tried harder, been more perfect, understood the culture better, you would have loved me. I thought I was the problem. She smiled, a sad but strong smile. But I wasn't the problem, she said. You were. And knowing that, finally having proof that your cruelty wasn't my fault, that is worth more than any apology you could give me. Suddenly, a small voice spoke up. Little Kai had been silent through all the shouting. He sat in his chair with wide eyes, trying to understand. Dad, Kai asked, why did Uncle Joon-ho hurt Mom if he didn't even love her? The question hung in the air. It was devastating because it was so simple. Why hurt someone you don't even love? Tae-sung picked up his son and held him close. Because some people hurt others to feel powerful, Kai, Tae-sung explained gently. Because Uncle Joon-ho was afraid of being caught doing bad things, so he made your mom look bad instead. It isn't right, and it isn't fair, but that is what happened. That is really mean, Kai said, his face crumpling. Mom is so nice. She doesn't deserve mean people. No, she doesn't, Tae-sung agreed. He looked at Amara with so much love. But she survived them. She is stronger than all of them combined. Minji spoke up. Her voice was small. She wasn't sneering anymore. She looked lost. What happens now? Minji asked. What happens to Joon-ho? To the company. Grandfather Lee looked at his grandson. Joon-ho will face consequences, Grandfather said heavily. Legal consequences. I have already contacted the prosecutors. The evidence Jihai found will be turned over to the police. Father, you can't. Madam Lee grabbed the old man's wheelchair. She was crying now. He is your grandson. He made mistakes, but surely we can handle this internally. The scandal. The shame. The shame is deserved. Grandfather Lee cut her off. For too long, this family has covered up wrongdoing. We have cared more about our reputation than about what is right. It ends now. Joon-ho will face justice. We will not protect criminals anymore. You are destroying the family. Madam Lee sobbed. Everything we built. Everything we sacrificed for. It was built on lies and cruelty, Tae-sung said calmly. Maybe it deserves to be destroyed. Maybe something better can rise from the ashes. Easy for you to say, Minji spat. You already walked away. You built your empire. You got the girl, the child, the happy ending. What do the rest of us get? Shame? Poverty? Disgrace? You get the truth, Amara said. You get to stop living a lie. You get to choose who you want to be instead of who this family demanded you be. That is more valuable than you realize. Spoken like someone who has never had anything to lose, Minji shot back. I lost everything. Amara's voice boomed. I lost my marriage. I lost my reputation. I lost my sense of safety. I had $50,000 and a traumatized mind, and I had to rebuild my entire life from nothing. Don't tell me I never had anything to lose. And look at you now. Minji waved her hand at Amara's expensive dress. Married to a billionaire. Living in Beverly Hills. You landed on your feet just fine. I landed on my feet because I worked for it. Amara said fiercely. Because I went to therapy 3 times a week for a year to fix what your family broke. Because I worked my way up from nothing. Because I learned to trust again. That didn't just happen, Minji. I fought for it every single day. With Tae-sung's money, Minji muttered. With my own strength, Amara corrected. Yes, Tae-sung helped. But he didn't fix me. I fixed myself. He just provided a safe space for me to heal. There is a difference. Speaking of money, Aunt Ji-hai said, interrupting the argument. She pulled out one final document. It looked very official. Father has made changes to his will, Ji-hai announced. Given Joon-ho's crimes and the instability of the company, he is restructuring the inheritance. What changes? Madam Lee asked sharply. Her eyes went wide with fear. Grandfather Lee looked at everyone in the room. Taesung is being reinstated as the primary heir, Grandfather said calmly. He will inherit controlling interest in Lee Industries, the family properties, and the bulk of my personal fortune. The room erupted. You are giving everything to him? Joon-ho shouted. His face was ashen. After he abandoned us? After he walked away? After he proved himself? Grandfather corrected. Taesung built a legitimate business empire worth more than Lee Industries without family money. He did it without dirty deals. He did it without compromising his integrity. He has proved he can lead with honor. That is what this family needs. Grandfather looked at Taesung, offering him the kingdom. Taesung stood there, looking at the papers that would make him the owner of everything his family had ever built. I don't want it, Taesung said flatly. Everyone in the dining room froze. Taesung looked at the papers that offered him billions of dollars, and he shook his head. I don't want Park Industries, Taesung said firmly. I don't want the properties. I don't want the money. I have my own company. I have my own money. I have a life I built without you. You are refusing? Grandfather Lee asked, shocked. Keep your inheritance, Grandfather, Taesung said. Give it to charity. Share it among the family. I don't care. But I don't want to be pulled back into this family's drama. I have Amara. I have Kai. That is enough for me. But the company needs you. Aunt Ji-hai cried. Without Joon-ho, without a leader, it will fall apart. Then hire a leader, Taesung shrugged. Bring in outside management. Clean house. Start fresh. But leave me out of it. Grandfather Lee looked at little Kai, who was holding his mother's hand. The old man looked sad. What about Kai? Grandfather asked softly. He is my great-grandson. He has Lee blood. Don't you want him to have his inheritance? Taesung looked at his son. He looked at Amara. Kai will inherit my company someday if he wants it, Taesung said with pride. But more importantly, he will inherit the values I am teaching him. Integrity. Compassion. Strength used to protect, not to hurt. That is worth more than any amount of money. The room was silent. Joon-ho looked down at the table, ashamed. Then Amara stood up. I need to say something, she said. Her voice was calm but powerful. She turned to face Joon-ho. He lifted his eyes to look at her, and for the first time he looked truly ashamed. Joon-ho, look at me, Amara commanded. You destroyed 18 months of my life, Amara said. You made me hate myself. You made me doubt myself. You let your family abuse me to cover up your own crimes. You took our marriage, something I started with hope and love, and you twisted it into a nightmare. Amara, Joon-ho started to speak. I am not finished, Amara cut him off. You hurt me in ways that Kai will never understand, because his father would never let anyone treat me like that. And I want you to know, I don't forgive you. Madam Lee gasped. Minji looked angry. But Amara kept talking. I don't forgive any of you for what you put me through, Amara said. But I also want to thank you. Thank us. Joon-ho looked confused. Yes, Amara smiled, and it was a genuine smile. Because if you hadn't been exactly who you are, cruel, cowardly, and selfish, I would never have left. I would never have met Taesung. I would never have had Kai. I would never have discovered how strong I am. She leaned in closer. So thank you, Joon-ho, she whispered. Thank you for being such a spectacular failure of a husband that you forced me to save myself. That's not, Joon-ho stammered. That is all I have to say to you, Amara said, turning her back on him. I am done giving you power over my emotions. You are nothing to me now. Not even worth my anger. She turned to Taesung. He was looking at her like she was the most amazing woman in the world. Can we go home now? Amara asked. I think we have had enough family dinner. Yes, Taesung said immediately. He picked up Kai. We are done here. They turned to walk away. They were leaving the mansion, the money, and the toxicity behind. Wait, Grandfather Lee called out. His voice was weak and desperate. Amara, wait. Amara stopped near the door. She turned around slowly. Before you go, Grandfather Lee said, tears in his old eyes. I owe you an apology too. Grandfather Lee's voice trembled in the air, weak but heavy with regret. Amara, wait. I owe you an apology too. Amara stopped. Her hand was on the door handle. She didn't turn around immediately. She took a deep breath, feeling Taesung's warm hand on her back. Slowly, she turned. She looked at the old man in the wheelchair. He looked small now. The powerful patriarch who terrified everyone was just a dying old man. I stood by while my family hurt you, Grandfather Lee said. Tears were running down his wrinkled cheeks. I was too weak. I was too concerned with tradition and reputation to stop them. I let them break you because I didn't have the courage to fix them. I am sorry. The room was deadly silent. Madame Lee looked at her father in shock. Joon-ho stared at the floor, unable to look anyone in the eye. Amara looked at Grandfather Lee. She searched his eyes. She didn't see the cold judgment she remembered from years ago. She saw real pain. She saw a man who knew he was running out of time. I accept your apology, Mr. Lee, Amara said softly. Madame Lee gasped. She couldn't believe Amara was being so gracious. Not because it erases what happened, Amara continued, her voice strong and clear, but because I think you actually mean it. And that is more than the rest of your family has ever given me. Grandfather Lee nodded, looking relieved. But he had one more thing to ask. He looked nervous. He looked at little Kai, who was holding onto Taesung's leg. May I? Grandfather Lee hesitated. May I see my great-grandson sometimes? Before I die. I would like to know him, if you will allow it. The request hung in the air. This was the ultimate shift in power. 8 years ago, this family had thrown Amara out like garbage. Now, the head of the family was begging her for a moment of her time. He was begging for access to the bloodline she protected. Amara didn't answer right away. She looked at Taesung. It was a silent conversation between husband and wife. Taesung's eyes were soft. He nodded slightly. He was telling her, "It is your choice. You are the boss." Amara looked back at the old man. "You can meet with him," Amara said finally. Grandfather Lee let out a breath he had been holding. "Thank you." But, Amara raised a finger. Her voice became sharp. "On our terms. At our home. With us present." She stepped closer, making sure everyone in the room could hear her. "And the first time you say anything hurtful about me, or about his heritage, or about his mixed-race identity, that privilege ends. Forever. Understood?" "Understood," Grandfather Lee said quickly. "Understood completely." He looked grateful just to have a chance. "Thank you, Amara," he whispered. "Don't thank me," Amara said. She looked at her husband with pride. "Thank your grandson, Taesung. Thank him for raising a son who believes in second chances." She turned to Taesung. She took Kai from his arms and held her boy close to her chest. "Ready to go home, baby?" she asked Kai. Kai wrapped his little arms around her neck. He looked around the big, fancy, cold dining room. He looked at his uncle Joon-ho, who was shaking with shame. He looked at his grandmother, who looked angry and sad. "Yes, Mommy," Kai said. "This place is sad. Our home is happy." "Yes, it is," Amara agreed. She kissed his forehead. "Let's go to our happy home." They walked out of the Lee family mansion together, Amara, Taesung, and Kai. They walked out as a family built on truth, not lies. Built on love, not money. Built on choice, not blood. Behind them, they left a family in ruins. Joon-ho was crying at the table, knowing he was going to prison. Madame Lee was screaming at Aunt Ji-hai. The legacy of the Lee family was crumbling because they refused to be kind. But Amara didn't look back at the chaos. She walked out into the fresh ocean air. The sun was setting over the water, painting the sky in beautiful shades of purple and gold. They reached their car. It was a normal car, not a limousine, but it felt like a chariot. Amara paused and looked up at the mansion one last time. It loomed against the sky, full of marble and money and misery. She used to fear this place. She used to have nightmares about these stairs. She used to feel so small here. Now she just felt free. "No regrets?" Taesung asked softly, opening the car door for her. Amara looked at him. She saw the man who had saved her. The man who had given up everything to love her. "Not a single one," Amara smiled. She slid into the seat. "They gave me hell, Taesung, and I turned it into heaven." "That is the best revenge," Taesung laughed. It was a pure, happy sound. He leaned in and kissed her. "I love you, Amara Lee," he whispered against her lips. "Every fierce, strong, beautiful part of you." "I love you too," she whispered back. "Thank you for seeing me when I couldn't see myself." "Always," he promised. Taesung got in the driver's seat. In the back, little Kai was already talking about what he wanted for dinner. "Can we have ice cream for dinner?" Kai asked. Ice cream is not dinner, Taesung said, trying to be serious. But Mommy said we are happy. Kai argued. Happy people eat ice cream. Amara laughed. It was a sound of pure joy. He has a point, Taesung, Amara said, reaching over to hold her husband's hand. They drove away from the mansion as the sun dipped below the horizon. They left the darkness behind them and drove toward the light. Joon-ho would go to jail. The Lee family would lose their reputation. But that was their story to finish. Amara had already written her ending. And it was beautiful. The end.